So what does it take for a country to form? Leadership? Agreement? Then what does it take to start that reaction? Tyranny and taxation without representation? America was a new world for the colonists, a chance to start afresh. Of the king upon them. Coming over to have religious freedom, the colonists at that time wouldn't have thought of war. In fact, they were content to be under control of the king, as long as he stayed just. After the victory of the British in the French and Indian War, Britain was in debt. King George III saw the way out of debt by taxing the Americans. What followed next was a long, aggravating chain of taxes that would eventually spark a revolution and create a completely new country. The Boston Tea Party occurred on December 16, 1773. It was done as an act against the British and King George III for the taxes that were imposed on America. Two acts that were imposed were the Stamp Act and the Townshend Act. The Stamp Act was implemented in 1765. It started that for legal documents, commercial writings, and various articles to be official. It needed a stamp from the British Parliament. The stamp was to go into effect on November 1, 1765, but was met with intense opposition and was repealed in March 1766. The Townshend Act was imposed 2 years later. In 1767, Townshend Acts put taxes lead, paper, painter's color, tea, and many more common household items. The Parliament left the Tea Act, though, to show they were still in authority over the colonies. Tension was rising amongst the people, and cries of taxation without representation soon followed. King George III cared little for his citizens in the New World, and it would turn out to be a huge mistake. The Tea Act was passed on May 10, 1773. It declared a tax of 3 pence for each pound of tea. It was designed to save the faltering East India Company by greatly lowering its tea tax and yielding it as a monopoly on the American tea trade. During that time, the colonists did not buy tea from the East India Company, which was the largest tea distributor of Britain, but smuggled Dutch tea instead. On November 28th, the Dartmouth, which was the first tea ship, arrived in Boston Harbor. The other two ships were the Beaver and the Eleanor. If tea wasn't unloaded in 20 days, the ship and cargo would be seized and sold. The Sons of Liberty, which was a group of patriots created by Samuel Adams, prevented the tea from being uploaded. On December 16th, the 19th day, the Sons of Liberty prepared their plan. In Boston Harbor, a band of 40 to 60 colonists from Massachusetts, camouflaged as Mohawk Indians, boarded 3 British tea ships and dumped 342 crates of British tea into the harbor. All of the British tea dumped was estimated to value at 10,000 pounds. The midnight attack, popularly known as the Boston Tea Party, was in protest of the British Parliament's Tea Act of 1773. Happenings similar to the Tea Party occurred in New York, Maryland, and New Jersey. Tea was being boycotted throughout the colonies. Parliament's reaction to the Tea Party was passing the Coercive Acts. These acts were known as the Intolerable Acts. These acts closed Boston to merchant shipping, established formal British military rule in Massachusetts, made British officials immune to criminal prosecution in America, and required colonists to quarter British troops. Colonists subsequently called the First Continental Congress to consider a united American resistance to the British. This would lead to the eventual War for Independence, which would free the American colonists from the oppression of the British.